DC here. Hi guys and gals. Well, Sunday morning, Father's Day. But I will probably make a little video later on for Father's Day. But today is right now this day's video is gonna be a spooky university one. Yeah, a topic that I've been thinking about on and off this week. It was bush parties. And I was thinking now, bush parties. Now, what is that? And then, of course, I realized, well, yeah, of course you know what it is, because it's, well, there's maybe different ways of defining it. Bush party could be, one could say, party in the bush. And it could also be, kind of a alternative party that has been out of grounds or out of bounds, one could say. Now, what is my actual experience with bush parties? Well, I come from a rural community, and I couldn't say that we had all that many bush parties then. We would have, outings. It depends how you want to actually really define a party. Is a picnic in the fields or in the woods outside of normal bounds party? Well, in a way, if you're a kid, it certainly is, or it can be. But I probably would think that the first bush parties that, if we could call it that way, which we had, were white bush parties. What the heck does that mean? Well, in a way, like I said, in a rural community, a lot of people today would say, well, a lot of the rednecks out there have their quads and so on. Well, quads weren't or three-wheelers weren't all that popular then, but snowmobiles were. Oh yeah, snowmobiles and probably off-road bikers or what. But anyway, in our family we had snowmobiles, and snowmobile clubs, and so you had the trails and so on. And unless you were not brought up in that part of the world, snowmobilers, it's a cold sport, and you've got to have a little flask of something, to drink, because you need to be warm every now and then. So actually, you would have these get-togethers, almost impromptu, but sometimes I think they weren't all that much, where people would go off riding into the sunset, not with their horse, but with their snowmobile, and they would meet up on the trails and stop, usually off at the crossroads of trails, and you'd stop and you'd end up basically having almost a party. Yeah, things like that would happen. And there'd be work parties as well, because sometimes the club needed to fix things or what. And of course, once you get a few guys together and they happen to have, usually, like I say, it was usually hard alcohol. It's not the question that beer wasn't drunk that much, but you try and drink a beer that's being shaken. The temperature would be okay, but the the consistency, once you'd open it, it would be like popping open a bottle of champagne. Anyway. So yeah, so those were probably white bush parties. Then I'm thinking, when I was a student, yeah, we would have parties that would be behind the university. There was woods and so on, and we would have, sometimes after matches, like for example, we would play softball, and there would be sometimes some spontaneous parties, which would be out in the wild, yeah. And I do know of a few which I didn't actually go to, which were organized, yeah. But they were mostly, one of the reasons for those bush parties were to be pot smoking parties as well, yeah. Then I'm thinking of another type of party that has been organized around here in the last few years, are the kind of open air parties So I know these are official. So these are official concerts or what? But very often they're in the outskirts because people come with their tents, and they will be sometimes near the woods, open spaces as well. But often there's a wooded area close to where they are, and a lot of parties end up spontaneously being there as well. It is something in a way that you associate with either the rural community or fringe activities very often. And like I say, when I do think of the the snowmobile stuff, it was a bit on the basis of fringe activities. When you really think about it, I mean, the amount of drinking and driving that was with the snowmobile groups then was pretty incredible, actually. I mean, we were driving. I was a younger kid then. I mean, I was a teenager, an older teenager, so it's not like we didn't maybe taste the alcohol. But what I mean is, it wasn't drinking heavily in those parties, but some people were, for sure. Yeah. Well, that's going to be my take on Spooky University. I think it's 68. Yeah, bush parties. Okay, everybody. Bye-bye.